opening tip, Terry Rozier sports a Drew Bledsoe jersey before and after Game 1. And Byron, I mean, the Bucks are already out of the playoffs. Is this a little too much petty to throw at Eric Bledsoe?
You know what? I like it and I don't like it. I like it because of the fact that he's saying, you at home watching me now, young man. And I don't like it because that series is over. Get ready for this one.
I know.
I'm all for everything petty.
Really? You're like, there's no conflict in Ramona at all. She's team petty. All right, welcome to The Jump. I'm Rachel Nichols. We have the fabulous Ramona Shelburne indeed back with us, finally, alongside three-time champ and former coach of the year, Byron Scott. And we're going to start today's show with a little... I feel like we need to all do the breaking news. The Warriors just announced that Steph Curry will play tonight in Game 2 of their series against the Pelicans. And look, just because it isn't a surprise doesn't mean it's not a big deal. Golden State won Game 1 by 22 without Steph Curry. So this will have a major impact on tonight's NBA landscape. All right, we got a preview of that game later on The Jump. But first... So I have prepared a list of things I would like Brad Stevens to address when he next has the time. World peace. 2, the melting of the polar ice caps. 3, teleportation, right? And if he finishes all that before lunch, I suppose we can also bring him in for something light and fun, like the whole hot dog sandwich thing. Because clearly, his current job, coaching at the highest level of professional basketball, it's just too easy for him. We got to see this again last night when the Celtics team that sometimes feels like it barely has enough players left to take the court announced that Jaylen Brown's sore hamstring would keep him out of the series opener with the Sixers. Brown, you may remember, is just a little bit important to Boston. He averaged 18 points a game in the first round. And I've joked on this show, the Celtics are like that Black Knight character from the old Monty Python sketch. You know, the guy who gets his arms cut off and says he can still fight because it's just a flesh wound. Well, the Brown news made it feel like Boston had its arms and leg and possibly an ear sliced away. And yet, the Celtics were absolute bulldogs again last night, right from the opening tip. And make no mistake, this isn't beautiful basketball that Boston is playing right now. But each night, they are getting something from someone. And last night, it was Terry Rozier, who on his way to shooting the lights out, also gave us this nice Bob Cousy impersonation here. Rozier would finish going 7 for 9 from 3, totaling 29 points. But it wasn't just him. It was also rookie Jason Tatum. Nice. It was Al Horford, who means really reliable as rain. And Marcus Smart, and I love this from Smart. Look at the 4 Sixers surrounding him, including 7-footer Joel Embiid. And yet the 6'4" Smart still turns Marcus Morris's miss into a bucket. And look, it wasn't the Sixers' night in any way, shape, or form. Philadelphia was a putrid 5 of 26 from 3. And Embiid still got his, finishing with 31, but he never looked dominant. Ben Simmons, well, let's just say the Celtics made everyone remember that this league can be a difficult place for a guard who doesn't trust his shot. Simmons had 7 turnovers. He was also greeted with these chants at the free throw line. Hey, still made the shot. That is the Boston crowd yelling, not a rookie. And by the way, only in this weird, wild year in the NBA is that a terrible insult. But it is. And all the way in his hotel room in Houston, yes, Donovan Mitchell got the joke, tweeting this. Of course, it's not going to go like this every night. Rozier, Tatum, and Horford were the first Celtics trio to each chip in 25-plus in a regulation playoff game since Bird, McHale, and Parrish did it more than 30 years ago. So by definition, that is not sustainable. And the Sixers will not only shoot better, but defend a whole lot better in Game 2. But the Celtics do believe they can still win this series. And while going in, that sounded just about as impossible as the whole world peace thing, I wouldn't put any of it past them. Not quite yet. So, Byron, do you believe, after what you saw last night, that the Celtics can win this series?
I believe they could win the series even before last night, to be honest with you. I think this team is playoff driven. They're playoff tested. They got 3 guys that showed up big time last night, and they seem to just plug these guys in. You know, Brad has done an unbelievable job of just getting everybody to believe that they can win, number 1. And number 2, to also do your job, you know, stay in your lane. And I think last night what you saw is a very resilient basketball team that plays hard, and they weren't the number 2 ranked defensive team in the league for nothing. You know, there's a reason behind that. That's because they come and defend every single night. And Brad said it in his interview, you know, in the game. He said, "Listen, we're gonna take away their threes," and they did just that. So you got to give these guys a lot of credit. I thought at the beginning of the series it was going to be a great series, but I thought that Boston had the edge in 2 areas. Number 1, they had home court advantage, and number 2, their playoff experience. And I think those 2 things right now was very evident last night in the game, and it showed big time.
Here's what I was waiting to see all playoffs, and really all year, is which team was going to figure out defensively how to bait the Sixers into having Ben Simmons take the ball out of his hands, right? He cannot shoot the ball. He won't shoot the ball. And somebody is going to devise a defense to stop that. And I think Boston has the athletes and the scheme to do that, coupled with the fact that the Sixers just shot horribly from the three-point line. Some of that you got to give to the Boston defense, obviously. But, you know, I know all, you know, Philly had a really good defense, too. And Embiid took a lot of that pressure on himself last night, saying, you know, that's partly on me because I'm the defensive lead. Look, he was fine defensively. Inside 5 feet, they could not score on him. They were 7 for 16 when he was in the game, 7 for 8 when he was not in the game. Okay, so he's still intimidating a lot of shots inside. Their defense broke down outside the paint. It's not on Joel Embiid right there. But the point is, Boston has figured out a way to bait the Sixers' weaknesses into coming out. And now it's time to adjust.
And it's interesting. That is, again, coaching. And I want to ask you, Byron, because you've played for a Hall of Fame coach, championship coach. You've been a coach of the year. I'm going to just throw that in there again. I mean, every coach in the NBA is very good.
Right.
I mean, we are talking about, to get one of these jobs, it's really hard. So what is it that you think sets Brad Stevens just so much more far apart, that he is able to get this out of literally any roster? Because, again, I always like to give players credit. I mean, they're the one who are out there playing. The fact is, there has not been a single player on that Celtics roster who has played every game. The only consistency has been Brad Stevens. Right.
I think the one thing we always talk about as coaches, you try to put players in a position to be successful. And I think Brad has done an unbelievable job of doing that with the guys that he has on this roster. I think, number 2, you want these guys to have the ultimate confidence. I think Brad has given these guys the ultimate confidence every single night to go out and play the way they're playing. And number 3, for me, is being able to communicate with these guys. And I think he's done that on a level where these guys feel comfortable talking to him and going out and being able to implement that game plan. So when you take all 3 of those things as a coaches and you're able to get that to these young guys that he has on his team, it's golden. And these guys are showing it, you know, during the regular season when you had Kyrie go down. Well, obviously first it was Gordon, and then you have Kyrie, and now, you know, Jalen. So these guys have been able to just put in a different position and still be able to produce every single night. So you got to give the coaching staff, Brad Stevens in particular, a great deal of confidence, but also a great deal of respect because of what he's been able to do with these guys.
The other thing, though, I want to point out, those are first-round draft picks on Boston.
Absolutely.
Those are lottery picks on Boston, right? Like, this isn't just like some guy that they got out of the G League. These are first-round stars.
That's a great point.
They may not be Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, who are generational-type talents. Philly still has the most talent in this series. But those are first-round draft picks that are playing really well. And part of the reason they're able to defend the 3 is that they are all long and they are all tough.
Athletic. But first-round draft picks that are in their 2nd and 3rd year. These are not first-round draft picks who have been in this league 7, 8 years. These guys have matured, you know, a lot sooner and a lot quicker than a lot of people expected, and their game is elevated a lot quicker than a lot of people expected.
And there is so much talent in Philadelphia, and they have a great coaching staff.
Absolutely.
We're all big Brett Brown fans here, so I expect them to fight back in Game 2. I will say this. We officially ended Haywatch when Kyrie had his surgery because we were saying, look, now that there's no Kyrie, they're definitely not going to bring Gordon back. There's no chance of it. If they win this series, I just want everyone to know those Raptors are getting fired back up. You
heard it from Rachel Burse.
Coming up, are the Cavs in trouble tonight after their quick turnaround? They just spoke at shoot-around. We will bring you all of that. But first, here is our distant replay. This date, 1994. Break it out.
Wow. You're in your high
Gets it back.
Latrell.
Oh,
okay.
Oh.
I love those old songs.
Did he not get in Charles Barkley's face after this dunk?
Charles backed away. Look
Did he not
Charles like, I want nothing
Charles
to do
didn't
with
want
that.
to be on ESPN. He didn't want the dun on him.
That
so
was
he
like
said,
skinny Charles, short hair Latrell. It's like a whole different world over there.